Ethan wiped the grease off his hands as he closed the small garage shop where he worked long hours to provide for his little boy, Liam. Being a single dad wasn't easy, but every sacrifice felt worth it whenever he saw Liam's innocent smile. That evening, Liam begged to go to the park near the city plaza, a place where the lights always glimmered and music filled the streets. Ethan, tired but unwilling to disappoint his son, agreed. As they strolled hand in hand, Ethan noticed a bustling corporate gathering at the Grand Hotel across the street, where chandeliers glowed and laughter spilled out onto the terrace. Expensive cars lined the entrance, and sharply dressed guests mingled with glasses of wine in their hands. In the corner of the terrace, however, sat a little girl in a soft white dress, her eyes downcast, fiddling with her hands as the crowd moved around her without a glance. Ethan paused, sensing something unusual. Liam tugged at his sleeve, whispering, "Why is she all alone, Daddy?" Ethan looked closer and realized the girl wasn't just shy, she was deaf. He remembered seeing an article about the hotel's powerful CEO who had a daughter with hearing loss. While others avoided her, Ethan's heart sank, recalling how often he and Liam had been overlooked, too. He thought of the sign language lessons his late neighbor had once taught him, simple words like, hello, friend, and happy. Slowly, with Liam beside him, Ethan walked up to the girl. He crouched to her eye level, gave her a kind smile, and raised his hands to sign, hello. For a moment, her eyes widened in surprise, as though a closed door had been opened. Then, with a sudden burst of joy, she signed back, her small fingers trembling with excitement. The sadness that once clouded her face disappeared, replaced by a radiant smile that seemed to light up the entire terrace. Liam giggled and joined in, making her laugh for the first time that evening. In that quiet moment of connection, Ethan unknowingly changed not just her night but the course of his own life forever. The little girl's laughter was so pure and unexpected that it drew the attention of those nearby, including the towering figure of Victor Hale, the hotel's CEO and one of the most powerful men in the city. Known for his stern demeanor and intimidating presence, Victor had built an empire where emotions rarely had a place. But at that moment, as he turned and saw his daughter, Ava, smiling brighter than she had in years, his steps faltered. For so long, he had tried to shield her from the world's indifference, yet no amount of wealth or influence could erase the loneliness that came with being different. And here was a stranger, a man in work clothes with grease still on his shirt, kneeling beside her with gentle hands and a warm smile, making her feel seen. Victor's brows furrowed with curiosity as he watched Ethan sign a few more words, friend, happy, beautiful, words that made Ava giggle and sign back eagerly. Liam joined in, his childish attempts at signing clumsy but full of heart, and Ava responded with equal delight, her world no longer silent but alive with connection. For the first time in years, Victor felt a pang of helpless gratitude mixed with shame, realizing he had overlooked the simplest truth: his daughter didn't need luxury, she needed people who cared enough to understand her. Slowly, he approached, his presence commanding as guests whispered, surprised to see him break away from the polished circle of executives. Ethan stood, slightly embarrassed, wiping his hands on his jeans, unsure if he had crossed a line. But Ava clung to his arm and signed to her father, he's my friend. The words hit Victor harder than any boardroom negotiation. He extended his hand to Ethan, his voice softer than anyone had ever heard. Thank you, he said simply, his eyes glistening with unspoken emotion. Ethan nodded, humility in his stance, never imagining that a small act of kindness would place him in the center of a powerful man's world. Yet, as Victor studied him with rare intensity, it became clear that this meeting was only the beginning of a connection that would change all of their lives forever. The following day, Ethan thought little of the encounter, convinced it had been nothing more than a fleeting moment that would soon be forgotten by the powerful CEO and his world of polished perfection. But life, as it often did, had other plans. That evening, as he returned home after a long shift, he was surprised to find a sleek black car parked outside his modest apartment building. Liam ran to the window, wide-eyed, whispering, "Dad, is that a limousine?" Ethan's heart skipped when a man in a sharp suit stepped out and handed him an envelope. Inside was a handwritten note: "Mr. Ethan Carter, I would be honored if you and your son join my daughter and me for dinner tomorrow. Victor Hale." Ethan almost laughed, thinking it must be a mistake, but the sincerity of the words left no room for doubt. The next evening, dressed in his cleanest shirt, Ethan held Liam's hand tightly as they walked into a mansion that looked like something out of a dream. Yet, instead of cold formality, they were greeted by Ava, who ran forward and hugged Liam, then signed hello to Ethan with a shy smile. Victor appeared, his usual commanding aura softened, and for the first time, he wasn't the CEO everyone feared. He was simply a father, vulnerable and searching for connection. Dinner was unlike anything Ethan had imagined. Ava insisted on teaching Liam new signs, while Victor listened intently as Ethan shared stories of raising his son alone, the struggles of late-night shifts, and the small victories that kept him going. For years, Victor had been surrounded by people who wanted something from him, but Ethan's honesty was refreshing. He realized this man, who had so little, carried a wealth of strength and kindness he himself had long forgotten. As the evening ended, Victor placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder and said, "You've given my daughter more than I ever could, someone who makes her feel understood. I'd like us to continue this friendship." Ethan left that night stunned, unaware that this bond would soon be tested in ways none of them could have predicted. Weeks turned into months, and the bond between Ethan, Liam, and Victor's daughter Ava grew stronger with every meeting. Ethan became more than just a friend. He was a bridge, showing Victor how to truly connect with his daughter. He taught him the patience of listening, the beauty of silence, and the power of understanding beyond words. For the first time, Victor began learning sign language alongside Ava, and their relationship blossomed in ways he had long thought impossible. Ethan watched quietly, humbled by the transformation, never imagining that his small act of kindness in a crowded restaurant would ripple into something so meaningful. But with this joy came whispers, colleagues questioning why a powerful CEO would spend time with a struggling single father. Victor, however, no longer cared about appearances. He had seen sincerity, resilience, and love in Ethan, the very qualities he himself lacked despite his wealth. One evening, after a long day of lessons and laughter, Victor invited Ethan to his study. "Ethan," he began, his voice uncharacteristically soft, "you've not only given my daughter a voice, you've reminded me what it means to be a father. I can never repay you, but I'd like to offer you a role at my company, where your compassion can reach even more people." Ethan was stunned, torn between disbelief and gratitude. This wasn't charity, it was trust, recognition, and respect. He accepted, knowing it would secure a brighter future for Liam while allowing him to continue being present for his son. That night, as he tucked Liam into bed, Ethan reflected on the journey. He had once believed his struggles defined him, that being unseen and overlooked was his fate. Yet, one simple act of kindness had altered the course of not only his life but also the lives of others. The lesson was clear: sometimes the smallest gestures, an outstretched hand, a simple hello, carry the power to heal hearts, build bridges, and rewrite destinies. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more motivational videos.